Hi, I'm James McConnell, producer, director, and driver of the Holy Hack program. We started all this in 1992 when we presented a treatment to Broadway Video. Actually, Jim Biederman got into my taxi cab, and I first pitched him there, and then he brought me into Broadway Video to talk to some other producers. And finally, we drafted some contracts, and we're going to set out to co-produce the Hack program. I had been working in film production. I was working for Maisel Brothers. I was working for some major directors in both the commercial and music video industry, PMI, Picture Music International, a long list of people that I was freelancing with. And because I was freelancing, of course, I had no health insurance. So when I became sick, I had to kind of fend for myself. And I'm sure a lot of you can appreciate that and know what that's like. So to survive, I found myself driving a taxi cab, and I had good fortune of working with the Maisel Brothers and other film companies, and also at Financial News Network. So my thoughts and thinking were always towards film production. So when I was driving the taxi, it was just an amazing experience, driving and interviewing people, talking to people. And the taxi cab environment is something that's incredibly unique, unlike a radio or TV interview show or even a call-in radio program. The people that you're talking to are not staged. They're not rehearsed in any way. They know that there's not this enormous audience. It's not their 15 minutes of Andy Warhol fame. It's a incredibly unique environment where you get the absolute truth and absolute gems from the people that are in the backseat of the cab. So fast forward, I started driving a cab. I presented all this stuff to Broadway Video. And then because of that kind of near-death, real sick feeling, I refocused my life on, different things, the fame, fortune, and success, all that stuff that was important to me before kind of flew out the window. And I was a little bit more concerned about, the eternal matters and things of the heart. So I went off on this kind of spiritual jaunt. I had this blue pill, red pill moment, and I took it. And I took it right in the middle of the time when I had the contract signed with Broadway Video. So my travels took me around the world, and when I came back into the United States later on, I was looking at the television and kind of catching up on the societal changes and whatnot. I missed the entire Bush years when I was out of the country. And HBO had been airing the program for several years, but under the name Taxi Cab Confessions, not under the original Hack name that it was first presented to Broadway Video. So this wasn't about, getting my rights or, whether I should take action against them or anything like that. It's an exact duplicate of the show that I presented and had contracts with Broadway Video, but it was a little bit more freaky. Well, actually a lot more freaky. The Gantz brothers, Joe and I guess Harry Gantz, their names are the ones who produced and directed the Taxi Cab Confessions. And they, of course, all their other films, or at least the majority of them, are sexually oriented and gender bending rather, and different films that kind of show the underbelly of society. And the Hack film was never, documentary film was never intended to be kind of a freak show. It was intended to show people a real, true slice of life, to let people understand what other people were really thinking. And in that way, we can kind of get to know our neighbors better, and we can understand common problems that we face in this country and things that we really need to address. We've called the program now Holy Hack, not because we're going to be a televangelist show where you send in your prayer request and we pray for you and then charge you thousands of dollars to heal you, or to do all the nonsense that a lot of these television evangelists are doing. We're really, the Holy Hack concept kind of came from me thinking that if Christ returned, he wouldn't return as a shepherd, he would return as a cab driver, because it afforded him the best opportunity to understand where humanity really is in this time and place. And once again, the Taxi Cab Confession show is focused on the freak. I want to focus on the good common human nature, the elements of the human being and the society that can bring us together and heal us. So, my opinion, prophets and saints didn't come to preach as much as they came to wake people up and allow them to make the decisions for themselves based on the truth, based on information that they brought to them that was authentic truth, that gave them an understanding of exactly what the population that they were speaking to was supposed to be doing with their lives. And our lives are turned upside down right now. Tyrants have taken over, and we have all these regulations and these problems, and the mass media is not telling us the truth. Well, the Holy Hack TV show is going to attempt to do that. It's going to attempt to do that through the voices of your, fellow neighbors, your fellow business people, your fellow, human beings. And once again, that taxi cab environment is just an amazing environment. It's like none other environment that I've ever experienced. People come in, and unlike your bartender, your hairdresser, your shrink, their apprehensions, their pretense, their guard that is normally up is completely dropped. And when they completely drop that, they're talking to somebody who's intelligent that they know that they're never going to encounter again. So they're, able to speak freely, and freely they speak. They speak about all sorts of things, and we want to capture those gems, those moments inside that taxi cab that conveys the truth of what people are thinking about the society. And in doing so, I think other people will be empowered by that. They'll understand what other people are thinking and understand that they're thinking the same thing. And that's going to kind of coalesce or, galvanize people into a community, really, because without community, without an association, without, coming together, and similar to old churches and whatnot, now we use the internet. We don't go to church. We stay in our rooms in front of our computer. So instead of chat rooms or, different things where you get that kind of same element where nobody knows where you are, but they kind of deteriorates, as you all know. It becomes, ego conflicts and a bunch of fighting, and some of it's good, but there's nothing like the taxi environment. So we're going to try to use that. We're developing Holy Hack, which can be found at holyhack.com, and we welcome you to come and join us and try to support the show, because it is viewer supported. We can't go to the major corporations that are selling all sorts of stuff and controlling the mass media today. So that's not the kind of people we want supporting us. We want you to support us. We want you to help us. We want you to be active participants in this. We want you to benefit from this program and learn from it, and watch your fellow man, your fellow woman, your fellow neighbors, to be able to find out what they're really thinking. And we're going to air the program on internet. Cable and television networks have a certain prestige about them, but that prestige is really not what it used to be. They're not garnering the kind of audiences that they used to garner. Fox News Network, for example, the business section of that network, they just fired Judge Napolitano, who had an excellent show, who was speaking about the truth. And they took him off the air for reasons which you can decide for yourself. But his peak audiences were only like 200, 300,000 people, and his internet audiences were upwards closer to 1 million. So we're going to focus completely on the internet, and hopefully through word of mouth, and the program is going to really effectuate people in the way we think it will, and word of mouth is going to make us a huge success. The idea later is to try to broaden the scope of understanding between different countries and different cities, different populations, different belief systems. And in doing so, we're going to try to recruit taxi drivers from other major cities around the world. And then we'll kind of get a slice and an understanding that all people have common problems, all people share the same kind of concerns. Their problems are pretty much parallel with everybody else, and we should all get along and try to work these things out. And again, your support is really important. We don't need that much money to get started. I mean, the bad interviews that I have, I'm going to charge people, so I'll be able to pay for the taxi there. But I do need to get a little money to get started here, so hope one of you comes forward and lends us a little bit of assistance to get this thing going, especially before the elections, because this is going to be an amazing vehicle to really understand what people are thinking. Because in my opinion, the elections are now being hijacked right now. The Republican process of choosing a candidate is pretty much skewed and going in favor of the corporations. So let's really hear what the people have to say inside the taxi cab and decide for ourselves what needs to be done, instead of being spoon-fed all of this false information and garbage that we continually get. Which, if you like that stuff, then go watch Taxi Cab Confessions. If you don't, you want to hear what your fellow man really has to say, then come take a look at holyhack.com. Thanks much. Take care. Bye.